Hey, everybody, this is Lisa Harper, and you're listening to the Not Ready Yet Curating Conversations for the Aging Journey podcast. This is the show that changes the conversations we have with our loved ones about aging and life decisions. Let's have more honest conversations where we speak the quiet parts out loud. And today, we're joined by Curtis Petersen, who is the National Sales Director for the Society of Certified Senior Advisors. And Curtis has been with the CSA for over 20 years, and he has shaped the careers of those that have obtained their CSA. And what we're going to share today is who are CSAs, what is a CSA, and why does that matter in the grand scope of when you are looking for services for your aging loved one. So, Curtis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, what was your path that led you to 20 years? I mean, that's substantial, especially in today's, I feel like people don't stay long anywhere. So 20 years working for SCSA, what led you to CSA and then what keeps you there?
Sure. Yeah. It was really somewhat by accident. However, I was shaped, my experiences early on with my own parents, of course, and the process of losing both of my parents and going through that aging process with them certainly impacted me. I also spent some early years in what was considered a nursing home back in the day. And I used to go in and play my guitar. And so all of these things inspired me, and basically I was hired by Ed Pittock, who was the founder of SCSA. And really it was a matter of listening to his vision, what his purpose was in creating this credential. And it really resonated with me because ultimately this is really about improving the ability for older adults to age successfully. So it's really to help older adults, and the impact is really there in the end. So that's really what inspired me from the get-go.
So you hinted at his foundational framework that give us a backstory of we're going to get into what is CSA and why we're having this talk, why look for that credential. But could you give us a little context and history about what the mission was originally and does that continue today?
Yep, absolutely. So not as really a whole lot has changed since 1997 when the credential was started. So Ed, his what he realized in dealing with different professionals is that there was really no standardized background knowledge the professionals in different industries really had. And so they were really kind of constricted to their own area of specialization. And he envisioned a credential that would be a supplement to the expertise of different professionals in different areas of aging. And so he got together subject matter experts in all these different areas: health, social, financial, and he created the curriculum that became the CSA certification curriculum. I should say nowadays we're kind of separated by certification and education. The education is utilized by many candidates to prepare for our exam. However, it's actually not a requirement of certification. So how you prepare and how you go about it is entirely up to you. But most people go through our curriculum that we develop to, cater to different learning styles. But basically it goes through the health, the physiological, the social aspects. It goes through the legal aspects. It goes through the financial areas as well as the government programs. And there is a very strong emphasis on ethics. So what this does for professionals, it gives them a credible credential that helps differentiate them and set them apart. And more importantly, it allows them to see a broader lens of what older adults go through and what their lives are like, what affects their decisions and how they make them. So it really broadens your whole outlook on really what's going on with people and helps you understand who are the other players out there? Who are the different professionals that might be, you might be necessary to call upon to refer people to when they need help in other areas. So it provided this groundwork it's relevant across multiple industries, and it is, really, like I say, the same kind of a program that it was from the get-go. Just a great professional development, a way to elevate yourself professionally and make you better resource for the folks you're helping.
When we're talking about somebody in the later stages of life making decisions, they're complex decisions, they're layered decisions. There's multiple experts that need to be called in. Sometimes you have to coordinate and talk to these people. So, everybody that takes the exam, regardless of what their industry, what their professional industry is, they're all taking the same exam and it includes all of those components that you said. So, it's this great umbrella overlook at the lifespan of aging.
Yeah, that's really it.
If you see CSA, if you see the certified senior advisor registered trademark there, you know that this person has undergone this, they've taken the exam. It's a certification that is earned. This designation is earned. When somebody's looking for a CSA, what do you want people to know about what stands behind those letters as far as that individual you're reaching out to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, really, from the get go, what you want to be looking for is somebody that you think you can trust, obviously. And so, you have a lot of choices on who you look at in terms of professional advice and help. So, one of the important aspects about CSA that makes it different than other certifications, besides the fact that it's multidisciplinary, and that really makes it stand apart quite a bit as well. But, in addition to that, the CSA certification is accredited and it's not as common as you would think. You talk about things you can earn quite quickly, and there's some quality programs that aren't accredited. And, but what's important about accreditation is it's a third party oversight. It's an evaluation by a third party. It guarantees certain standards and guidelines in terms of how you approach the process of developing the exam, the management document control systems. I mean, it goes into a lot of things. And we actually have the distinction of being duly accredited by two national accrediting bodies, which is very, very unusual. Probably less than 1% of credentials that are out there and available in aging, or really any credentials, are duly accredited. So we're really in a unique position there. So again, our exam is developed by rigorous psychometric standards, ISO standards, because our accreditation through ANAD requires that, which is the ANSI National Accreditation Board. And then we also have NCCA, which is a National Commission for Certifying Agencies. So that's a real big deal. But that's not the only reason you'd want to work with a CSA. I mean, obviously that really raises the bar considerably, and it does provide good standards. But as far as the certification guidelines on what CSAs are required to do, passing a rigorous, comprehensive exam on all the areas, health, social, financial, and really having that broad breadth of curriculum allows for a professional to really have better insight. And so in terms of what they have to do ongoing and to maintain the certification, I think this is where it gets into areas I think that are really important to families and to other professionals. So again, you have you want somebody to get the best help they can get. You alone can't do that. I mean, a lot of people do different things in the scope of their business, but to do it successfully, you have to have a trusted network. So if you want to have a trusted network, you want people that you feel like have been vetted. And so the process of becoming CSA certified is actually a vetting process up front and it's ongoing. So not only do you have to pass an exam, but you also have to pass a national criminal background check. And you have to complete an online ethics module. And that ethics module is based on our Code of Professional Responsibility. So it really outlines the guidelines and how you approach business in an ethical manner, providing the right kind of services, having the right kind of licensure, and all these things. So not only do you complete that ethics module, but you agree to abide by our professional code of responsibility. So if you're gonna, if you're looking for a professional who can help, or to perhaps refer business, uh, for another kind of area of aging where someone might need help, you really want somebody who's vetted. So you take that a step further. A CSA has to go through disclosure questions when they initially apply. Each time they renew their membership, they have to go through the same disclosure questions. That's to ensure that nothing has changed over the course of the last year. And then, in addition to that, every 3 years, CSAs are required to have completed 30 hours of continuing education, 3 of which are ethics. And so on that 3-year cycle, they're required to show that they had completed the continuing education requirements. And again, this is to stay current on trends and things that are changing. And so not only do we check that they've done their continuing education, but we actually do another background check. So CSAs are background checked every 3 years. They can complete 30 hours of continuing education, and they agree to abide by a code of ethics. Now, what do we do to uphold that? We have a disciplinary council. We have a certification council. We have things in place to evaluate, and if there's complaints that come in, we take it very seriously, and we evaluate and take a look at it. So those are all some really, really good reasons to look at, what your professional credentials, what are your professionals that you're looking to work with, what credentials they have, what qualifies them, and certainly this is a differentiator.
The industries that have to cross over, there's this level of communication and understanding of who's on the other side of the conversation too. You're automatically vetted in a way that another CSA talking to another CSA already has this established groundwork, this foundation. People that are in this space, the training to communicate effectively and on a higher level and also seeing the broader picture is only going to help assist the family through whatever need they're going through. And you're also teaching them to kind of see beyond their own scope of expertise. You can't stay in silos. You have to be open and communicate, and everything has to be done for the best of the family, of whoever you're helping. Most, when they enter a space that they're needing help, are in a crisis mode,
Mhm.
and it is about getting the next answer to the next decision to be able to keep moving forward. An urgent crisis happened, and then we're trying to find people. And if you're not in the healthcare industry or even know the jargon, it can really feel overwhelming really quick. Hopefully, you're talking sooner than you would have. And having that open dialogue, that's my goal and hope and for being here. But I want people to not feel so alone and just not know who to call. How have you in your 20 years with SCSA, like, how have you seen the professionals that come through affect families?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's really inspiring, just hearing some of these stories, and we go through a process of awarding a service to senior awards each year, at our annual conference. And so we have many, many people who are nominated, and it's really enlightening to go through and just see what's going on that's really up and above what you would see normally in a professional's normal scope of work. So these are people, and this is one of the things I love about my job. Not only do I get to deal and really interact with a lot of different interesting disciplines and different people, but these people, their heart is in the right place, and that's so important. So that's been one of the most rewarding things for me. One of the things that we do, and we're very big proponents of, is creating a networking group in your area that you can rely on. And so we do a lot of work to try to help facilitate the formation of these groups around the country, and we call them the CSAs network. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people just do this on their own, but we're very proactive in saying we'd like, to help you form a group of multidisciplinary people in your area. And that just provides that network, and that's the idea. So we do have several of them around the country, quite a few. Some of them are in different stages, and we're always looking to try to get people to do more. But I think mindset, I think, is what's super important, is saying, hey, we need to help each other. We need to have a network, and we need to be able to take care of all their needs.
When you see the word trust in marketing, and it's hard, it's like, that's an experience. I can only say that that exists after I have an experience with you. And so I find it hard to use that word in marketing. I don't think it's a marketing word. I think it is something that's bestowed, and it's something that somebody understands after engaging with you and seeing how you follow through and what your follow-up is, and you do a lot to support those that become CSA. Can you tell us a little bit about the journal that's put together?
Yeah, sure. So the journal is really just a top-notch publications. It's basically an academic journal or trade journal, and it's peer-reviewed. It's won multiple mature media awards. But again, this is our way of providing ongoing, really valuable content and education to our members. And so we do that through the process of initiating conversations with subject matter experts who contribute to that content in a whole variety of areas. So it changes. We do a special edition every year, and that's usually focused on a particular area. But in a typical CSA journal, you're going to find articles along the entire spectrum. So you're really going to have a different whole variety of different topics. But it's super important, and I think it's one of the best benefits that we have. So this comes out in a physical form. It's a beautiful magazine, basically, and it's also archived behind the member portal. So every one of those editions is behind the member portal. And then in addition to that, there's actually some CEUs that are tied to that. So you can go behind the member portal. There's a case in point article included in each one of those editions. And then there's some questions that a CSA would go through. And so you earn one CEU for each one of those that you complete. So that's, one of the ongoing, I think, benefits of having that. But, we have some people that advertise in it because it just reaches so many people. And it's just something I think that people really enjoy being able to share. So it's great. Now, I did hear a rumor recently that we may be just going electronic with that, so I'm not
With the
sure.
publication.
Yeah, yeah, so that may just become an electronic publication, which in a way opens up some other avenues, but so that's definitely one of our great educational pieces. Another thing that we do besides the journal is we have a monthly webinar series, and these are very well attended. I mean, there's usually 500-600 people register for these each month on a variety of topics. Again, another way we engage with the subject matter experts in different areas of aging to provide that ongoing informative information about, again, trends and things that are going on in the aging space.
And are those webinars open to the public or are those only open to CSAs?
They're actually open to the public. So if you go to the CSA website and under events, you can see the webinar schedule. Now, the member benefit is to have access to the recorded version of it behind the member portal. So again, like the CSA journal, those are archived behind the member portal. And then again, this is another thing that has some CEUs tied to it. So it's another great way to help keep up on that also.
So the public could, take a listen if any of those, topics are interesting. Is there a directory provided also? Like, if somebody's listening and they're like, "Well, I wanna see if there's somebody here in our area," is there a way they can find people that are CSAs through, your platform?
Yeah, indeed. So on our main website, csa.us, there is a functionality or a search engine, and it's a button in the upper right-hand corner. It just says "Find a certified senior advisor," and so this search engine you can search by, yeah, obviously geography. You can search by discipline, by name, a whole variety of different ways. So really, I mean, and this is not only utilized by older adults and their families, but also other professionals. Again, it's that, hey, I want to find somebody that I might be able to refer to who needs to find suitable housing or whatever it might be. So it's very easy to work with it. It's again it covers the entire United States, so it's pretty easy to find somebody.
So many people don't live near their loved ones, and when things start to happen and you're in another state, a plane ride away or 2, and a 2-hour car ride, you're looking for, "How do I find the help that I need, and how do I find somebody that can assist in that area?" And then for those that are listening saying, "This is something that I need in my life, in my industry, and I wanna have CSA after my name." Tell us about, what that looks like, how we apply, how we plan and prepare to being certified.
Yeah. I mean, the great questions. So, the interesting thing is, right, like everybody comes with a little different background, education, experience, and therefore understanding of some of the areas and topics. So the time that somebody may, need to prepare can vary based upon that. So, I think in terms of how you go about preparing what you do, what you think you need in terms of education, you have to look at how you learn best and just, your circumstances. So we do provide, like I say, some different options that cater to different learning styles. So, I guess in terms of what the process looks like, we talked about the requirements. You pass the exam, you pass a background check, and then as well, you do the ethics module. So a typical person will look at it and they have the option of going through a self-paced online course. It's the most flexible. It's definitely the most popular option because of that. And now there's no difference in the pass rate on the exam between students who go through these different options. And not only that, but the presentations, the textbooks, the material that we provide in all of them, it's the same. It's just delivered in different ways. Some people like the structure of a real-time live class and need that, that real-time interaction. And not only that, but sometimes just the necessity to be somewhere at a certain time rather than trying to set their own study plan and stick to it. So, again, you can choose from the most flexible option, which is the online course, that gives you the ability to work at what pace you want to, and you can work on it when and where you want to, the structure of a live virtual Zoom class, which is another option, and we offer in both a evening as well as a daytime format. And so depending on your circumstances, you can usually find something that works. And then we also have in-person classes, and we will be having an in-person class here in Denver in June. So that's a great opportunity. Now, one thing we didn't really talk about is how the exam is administered. And so if you're doing our education options, with the exception of the in-person class, you're gonna schedule and go take an exam at a Pearson computer-based testing center local to you. And they have a huge network of testing centers. I mean, it's pretty much you can take an exam when where you want for most people. I mean, if you're in a real rural area, it can get a little more challenging, but there's a lot of options. So it's very convenient in that way. It does require an in-person proctor. So that's part of our certification guidelines. So with an in-person class, on the other hand, we do allow the option after a 3-day class, and we're talking about 3 full days with a little caveat that the idea is to enroll early, get your textbooks, have the ability to go through and do reading and certainly spend some time in areas you're not as familiar with, go through review questions. And if you do that prior to the class, you have a pretty good chance of being well prepared for the exam. And so on the 4th day, after the 3 full days in class, you do have the option of actually sitting for an exam. We bring a proctor in, and you're literally filling out the bubbles on a hand exam. So it's a little different, but a lot of people like that option because, if they do prepare and they do show up prepared and ready, they can almost be done when they leave class. So it's been a very popular, option that we made available.
Yeah. And again, I was going to reiterate the key areas that the exam covers, and this is for everyone, not just those that are looking at this going, "Oh, maybe I'll become a CSA," but it's aging and health issues, financial and retirement considerations, ethics and professional responsibility, communication with older adults, and social and cultural aspects of aging. I think that's very important for people to hear, both those that are families that are looking at, "Oh, we need to find CSAs now," and then those that are out there going, "I would like to obtain this." Well, Curtis, is there anything else that you wanna share with our audience before we wrap things up?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that anybody that wants to can get some free resources from our website. And again, a good example is the monthly webinar series. We also have a bookshelf, and And we've got it's indexed by topic. So there's actually a lot of quite a library of different resources and books that we offer on that bookshelf. So that's another thing I think it is worthy of taking a look at, and you'll find something of interest, I'm sure. But I think that the main thing is, if you have questions, if you want to understand more about the process, there's somebody that can help. And so I'm very forward facing on our website. If you go to meet our team, you can get my information, my number, and we just really have some great quality staff that handle different functions. I can't say enough about our staff. Our annual conference that we put together every year is just an epic event. That's available to anybody also. And so, we're doing it here in Denver in August. We do move it each year to different parts of the country, but really another fantastic opportunity in education and learning tracks along a bunch of different areas of aging.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize that you guys refer to it as the Society of Senior Certified Advisors. And so the CSA is the designation, but I think that that alone carries a different amount of weight to say that's a society. And I think you guys really have built that. Thank you for your time and helping us understand the CSA designation and the Society of Certified Senior Advisors. I was going to see if you'd be open to playing the ready or not lightning round.
Sure.
Okay. It's not painful, I swear. It's no overthinking, just your first instinct. The first question is, which do you prefer on a home, a front porch or a back deck?
Back deck.
Back deck. The second one is insider language. What's a phrase or piece of industry jargon that people outside your field wouldn't understand? And what does it really mean?
Hmm.
Could be CSA.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We may
Very
have
much.
accomplished that. Yeah. So here's the third question. If every listener did just one thing at 55 to make life easier when they're 75, in your opinion, what would that be?
Well, I think planning for your ongoing cruise into the twilight years. Yeah, I think it's just being prepared and talking to the right people, the qualified people to help with that
Yeah.
transition.
I always say we talk more in this country about anti-aging than we talk about the fact that we're aging. And I want to open up that conversation that whether it's cognitive decline or a sudden event happens, we can't live under a rock and think nothing's going to touch us. And so I want people to just have that. And I think that this Gen X, the sandwich generation, the adult kids that we're talking to, as we live longer and parents live longer and we see the duration on the other side of what everybody said was retirement. So that's my hope is that adult kids hear this and go, huh, I need to be thinking about that. But not only do I, what's mom and dad's plan or what are they doing, and to open it up in a way of continuing dialogue and not shutting it down, allowing it to be a family conversation. Some of these last months and they might last years, but if you start the conversation and you ask questions, even if they're not ready yet to talk about it, it dissolves this wall slowly. And when they're ready, they'll circle back. Hopefully, that's the hopes. I don't want people to think they have to know everything and do everything. It just starts with one small question, one intentional conversation with your family and just see where it goes because we're not saying you have to have all the answers, but we want you to have information and know where to get it and know who to go to. Well, Curtis, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing everything today about CSA and the Society of Certified Senior Advisors.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been great.
Thanks for joining me on Not Ready Yet, curating conversations for the aging journey. If something in this episode gave you clarity or the courage to start an important conversation, or offered a new way to look at things, I hope you'll share it with someone who might need the same encouragement. Remember, navigating aging isn't something we have to do alone or in crisis. With love, logic, and the right tools, we can face what's next with confidence and connection. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. It helps others find the show. And just a quick note, The information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for medical, psychiatric, legal, or other professional advice. Always consult a qualified professional for guidance tailored to your unique situation. This is Lisa Harper, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.